The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
All right, on today's episode of Locked On Canucks, we're going to talk about realistic expectations for JT Miller. How is this for realistic? JT Miller's going to win the Hart, baby.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, the co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer currently with a Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into today's episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. You want to know why? Because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world. And for our show, if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Make sure you go subscribe and like on YouTube. And on the podcast side, leave a 5-star review and a funny comment. And hey, a 5-star review means we might knock $5 off a shirt for you, okay? We got to do things for you because we ain't here without the fans. We also ain't here without the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Go download that GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Vancouver Canucks, and I'm saying it again because it feels good, they're entering the season with legitimate Stanley Cup aspirations. It has been a long time since your Vancouver Canucks have had this much hype entering a season. And a big reason for that is because of JT Miller, the guy who a lot of fans wanted to see traded a couple seasons ago, and now one of the most dominant players in the NHL. So what are the realistic expectations for JT Miller coming into this season? Can he get any better? Is there regression in store? Let's touch on all of that. We also got Fan Friday coming up with Aiden, a.k.a. Young Static, going to join the show. My co-host, Kyle Bowen, he's in traffic. I'm expecting he'll join at some point, but you never know, man, because Vancouver traffic, it's more chaotic than Tyler Myers pre-last season. Come on. We might also touch on some other Canucks under pressure because a guy like JT Miller, any star on this team, is going to be under pressure, especially when you have the expectations that the Vancouver Canucks do. But for JT Miller, why would anyone be doubting that this guy could level up once again? Because he surprised all of us. He surprised all of us last season. I think one of the big knocks on JT Miller's game, it was no secret, was that you wondered if he was really the best guy to be in a matchup role, going up against the team's best players on a night-to-night basis. We all thought last season, at least I thought last season, that Elias Pettersson, it made more sense for him to go up against the McDavids, the McKinnons, the best players in the NHL. But Rick Tocchet saw it differently, and I think, I've said it before and every dayers know, I think Rick Tocchet sees a bit of himself in JT Miller. Stylistically, they're similar players, even though Tocchet was primarily a winger, and JT Miller is just an everything, man. I believe JT Miller could play goalie for your Vancouver Canucks if Demko and Shilovs aren't healthy. But obviously he's best up front. But last season, JT Miller, he finally crossed the threshold, the 100-point threshold. One of the top scorers in the NHL. He's been a top 15 scorer in the NHL since joining the Vancouver Canucks. And I don't think he gets the recognition around the league he deserves because of that. He just kind of flies under the radar in Vancouver because of Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. And, people love the kids nowadays. No one's in love with the 31-year-olds anymore, okay? No respect for the 31-year-olds like Kyle and I. Kyle and I don't deserve it, but JT Miller definitely deserves it. And last season, we saw from game 1 of the season, he successfully matched up against Connor McDavid in game 1, even in game 2 of the season. And for a good chunk of that series between Edmonton and Vancouver, obviously the Oilers, they were power play merchants, to steal a term from some fool who said that about JT Miller once. But McDavid and Draisaitl, they were clicking at 50% on the power play in that series against the Vancouver Canucks at one point. But there were some games, and specifically game 1, specifically game 5, where JT Miller's line was rock solid against Connor McDavid and company. Now, In terms of expectations, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and it's, again, the fact that he's 31 and no one loves 31-year-olds anymore. Is regression a possibility for JT Miller? There's one comparable I use for JT Miller, in past years when thinking about how good could this guy be and for how long could he be, at an elite level. And when kind of looking at the numbers, stylistically, this isn't the best comparable, but in terms of age, one of the best comparables in my mind was Blake Wheeler. Blake Wheeler, much like JT Miller, had a career year with the Winnipeg Jets at the age of 31 back in 2017-18 when he put up 91 points in 81 games. He followed that up with 21 points in 17 playoff games as the Winnipeg Jets went to the conference finals. The following season, his age 32 year, he replicated that same success, 91 points once again in 82 games. And after that, he, for about 4 seasons after that, 33, 34, 35, 36, he kind of maintained that, quasi first line, second line status. But his age 31 and 32 seasons were something special for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, JT Miller, I believe, is a more well-rounded player, a more dangerous player than Blake Wheeler. And no offense to Blake Wheeler, he's a good player for a long time. But JT Miller gives you so much more. And we've seen the drive, the hunger in this guy to get better. Whereas with Blake Wheeler, you heard some stories about him in Winnipeg maybe not being the best leader or potentially the hardest working guy. But JT Miller works his rear end off. I mean, this guy came to the Vancouver Canucks 5 years ago. You all know the story. Came to this team as a second line winger, and now he's one of the best centers in the NHL. So I think another thing, I'm not really expecting JT Miller to regress much this season. Let's knock on wood, okay? Because I think he's too good. I think he's too competitive. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to be, once again, one of the best centers in the NHL. And again, a big reason why the Canucks have Stanley Cup aspirations is because of their 2 centers in Miller and Pettersson. Now, I think the floor for JT Miller, I honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we see a regression in points because, getting 100 points, it's pretty damn hard to do in the NHL, right? It's hard to do. And I do wonder if this Canucks team who, was going balls to the wall from the first game of the season, if maybe they have their foot off the gas pedal just a little bit to save up for the playoffs. That being said, I don't really think JT Miller has it in his nature not to have his foot fully on the gas pedal at all times. Now, so I think a floor for JT Miller, reasonable expectations. I think you expect this guy to be at least a point a game guy, right? At this point, 80-ish points is probably the floor for JT Miller. But let's talk about the ceilings. That's a bit more fun, right? The ceiling for JT Miller. And my question to you and you and you and you, is there any chance JT Miller can enter the Hart Trophy conversation this season? We all talk about the Canucks MVP from last season. It was more or less Quinn Hughes. Demko had his moments. Pettersson had his moments early on. And JT Miller certainly had his moments from the opening night puck drop. Now, I think JT Miller has an uphill climb because maybe he's not as silky or sexy as a guy like Kucherov or McKinnon or McDavid. But you could argue he's the most well-rounded player in the NHL with his physicality, his playmaking skills, his shot, the fact that he goes up against the team's best players on a nightly basis. There's really nothing that JT Miller does not do. I think there was a stat last season he was the first player to hit 100 points and 200 hits in the same season. I know they've only been tracking hits for about 20 years now, but beside the point. Again, this is just an animal on the ice, a guy that does it all. And I'm not putting it past JT to potentially get in that Hart Trophy conversation. Again, I think he's got an uphill climb because I think he gets overshadowed a bit in Vancouver by casual onlookers. But he likely deserves it because he's that damn good. Hit us up in the comments, whether you're on YouTube Live or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, or if you want to hit us up on that thing called Twitter/X. What are the expectations for JT Miller? And more importantly, can this guy enter the Hart Trophy conversation? You can also hit us up and let us know, are you worried about regression for JT? Because again, 100 points is pretty damn hard to do. Coming up on the other side, we got Young Static, a.k.a. Aiden, in the house. We'll ask him which name he likes best. Kyle Ballin might show up. He might not show up. I don't really know. But at least we got Aiden coming up on the other side here on Locked On Canucks after we shout out our friends over at eBay Motors. All right, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener, a first-time listener, it don't matter. You know the deal. It's passion, it's drive, and it's patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the JT Miller MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die live at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guarantee fit only available to U.S. customers. All right. We're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. And no Kyle Ballin yet, but we know who we do got in the house. It's Young Static. Okay, let's bring him onto the show. Young Static, a.k.a. Aiden. I'll ask you right off the bat, which name do you prefer?
Oh, just call me Aiden, man.
All right. Shout out to you, buddy, for hopping on the show. Let's keep talking about it, man. JT Miller. First and foremost, is he your favorite Canuck? Because I feel like that's the most common answer I hear from fans.
Yeah, man. It's between him and Hughes, you know? They're both so goated.
Yeah, 100%, man. And what do you think are realistic expectations for JT Miller last season? Like, have I been drinking too early in the morning? Am I going crazy with this JT Miller for the Hart talk?
No, definitely. I definitely see it happening. And, you know, he's a 100-point player. It's going to be happening for at least another 2 years. I see it.
There we go. That's the kind of energy we need, man. And, you know, here's another question too, right? The Canucks have, I think entering last season, you know, with Pettersson, with Miller, we kind of figured that, you know, JT Miller's the number 2 guy. Pettersson's going to be your top dog, but we kind of saw it the other way last season, right? JT Miller is certainly the more consistent guy, although Pettersson has flashes. How do you see this season playing out? Like, who finishes with more points in your eyes? Is it Pettersson having a big bounce back year, or do you think JT Miller finishes with more points than Elias Pettersson?
Well, of course I see Pettersson getting back on his grind, you know, but, you know, JT Miller, he's an unleashed dog, you know. I think he's definitely going to blow by in points. I definitely think Petey's going to come back, get some goals up there, you know, get out of that slump.
Yeah.
But overall, I think Miller's going to blow past him in some points.
Okay, so you're picking Miller over Pettersson in terms of points next season. Look, it's I'm going back and forth, man. I'm always all over the place, but I will say, like, I was hyping up Pettersson, you know, maybe a week or two ago, talking about maybe this guy can surprise and enter the Hart conversation. But, you know, man, oh man, the fact that we have, you know, multiple guys who could be in that conversation, and that was certainly what Kyle and I were talking about in like November, December last year. It's like, man, oh man, between Pettersson, Hughes, Demko, and Miller, you got 4 guys who can maybe be in this Hart conversation. And I think maybe at one point there was 4 of them in the top 20 in terms of the Hart conversation. But Aiden, I'll ask you this, maybe a bit of background on you as a Canuck fan.
Yeah.
When did you become a Canuck fan? How did you become a Canuck fan? And is this the most fun you've had watching the Canucks?
Okay, I will say this definitely is the most fun I've had watching the Canucks. But my earliest memory was that 2011 run. I was probably 5 years old. Hey, there's Mr. Kyle. What's going on?
What's up?
But yeah, it was 2011. Watching the run, I had my whole family, and obviously we all know what happened there. But I've been locked on ever since, you know?
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. 5 years old, man. So like, it's funny because me and Kyle talk about this, how, you know, me and Kyle are getting pretty old and crusty here. Again, 31 years old, like JT Miller. But we kind of talked about how, like, you know, maybe teenagers nowadays, they aren't maybe into the Canucks as much because they haven't been good. But it sounds like the Canucks kind of captured you. Right in that time. Like, I remember watching the Canucks at 5 years old. And for me, it was like Todd Bertuzzi just bowling over people and scoring crazy goals. And I was like, damn, I'm into this thing called hockey. So for you, they kind of captured you before they went bad for 10 years. But what made you stick around over the past 10 years, or did you even stick around?
Well, I'll say that when Horvat was around, I wasn't watching too much. I would go to the occasional game with my brother, but ever since he left, it's been go mode. I've been almost addicted to this thing, you know?
Oh man, you're telling the viewers that for free, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Big facts, big facts. Yo, young Static, are you gonna drop a couple bars for us or what, man? About JT Miller, man. Here's your chances, man.
About JT Miller, hey?
What a guy, dude. What a guy. I'm not sure what Trevor already covered, but that was stuck in traffic. Yeah, the traffic is nuts right now, bro. This is something else, bro. I'm telling you, it's testing me. I'm not gonna front though. I'm not gonna front. The only thing saving me, ironically, it's kind of like Static kind of looks like him, but it's Static kind of looks like a young Mac Miller, for real, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? But Mac Miller helped me on this drive. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways,
that's awesome.
Where are we going with JT Miller? What has Trevor already brought up? What's the situation?
Okay, I'll ask you this, Colin, and it's the same thing I asked Aiden before, but talk about expectations for JT Miller. I kind of talked off the hop about the floor being that point a game, 80-point guy, and the ceiling being in the Hart conversation. Now, we also talked about Miller versus Pettersson, and I'm going to phrase this to you. Entering last season, obviously Pettersson expected the number one center. JT Miller ended as the top dog. Between those two guys, what do you think finishes with more points on the Canucks next season?
I think, dude, honestly, bro, I think it's going to be Miller. I think it's going to be Miller, man. And that's not even a knock on Pettersson. I just think that in a world where Tocchet says he wants to be more offensive, and in a world where we don't see the Canucks power play absolutely suck ass again, there's a world where JT Miller puts up another 10 points, another 15 points. The only thing that would stop him from going juggernaut with points versus Elias Pettersson, who probably wants to prove himself in the regular season a bit more consistently and earn that 11.6, is JT Miller telling himself that he can save some gas for the playoffs, which I feel as if there's a small chance of that because of his age and of how boring regular season hockey may be for him, considering he just played playoff hockey in Vancouver. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. That's a fair point, man. And I think logic's going to tell you that JT Miller is going to have more points next season. I think for me personally, and it's, again, not a knock on JT, but I just think there's too many people doubting Elias Pettersson right now. And I think you're going to get a motivated Elias Pettersson next season. I think he's going to play with better wingers than he's played with in some time. And man, oh man, I think Elias Pettersson could be in that Hart conversation as well next year. And if the Canucks are going to live up to this, these expectations of potentially winning the Stanley Cup, of being one of the best teams in the NHL, you're going to need both Pettersson and Miller to be absolute difference makers. And I believe they're going to be next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'll say this to you, man. Like, Trevor, young Static, like how badly do we need Canucks players this season to, again, pad the stats? You know, like, do we need Quinn Hughes to actually get to 100? Do we need Miller to do this? Do we need a Hart Trophy winner? Like, don't you just want these guys saving the gas to potentially win a Conn Smythe and more notably a Stanley Cup? I don't care about the Hart Trophy. What do you think about that young Static?
Yeah, honestly, it's all about the playoffs, man. Like, we can push obviously all we want, but we got to lay back. We got to stay loose because last season we were way too tight. We had way too many injuries, just too much going on. We definitely got to maybe make the playoffs and just coast the rest of the season until we finally make it.
Yeah, man, save the gas, man. Trevor out here just wanting like all these regular season records, man. Come on, bro.
Here's the thing.
The regular season, who gives it? Come on,
Here's
man.
the thing, and I'll ask you this, Colin. I said it earlier while you were jerking off in your car. JT Miller, do you think it's really possible that he can not be pedal to the metal full throttle during the regular season? I don't think this guy has it in him to slow down. I think he's always going to be a balls to the wall kind of player.
Yeah, and like you also have to throw in like the fact that if this team's going into the regular season with that decor, like maybe they have to be like more offensive to pick up more dubs. Like if they're not going to lean on Thatcher Demko for like 80% of the regular season, again, maybe they have to score more goals. And to answer your question about JT Miller potentially laying off the gas pedal in the regular season and how that doesn't really connect with his mindset and his mojo, and that seems like it's mission impossible for you. Again, I'm just gonna say that is possible, considering that he got a taste of playoff hockey in Vancouver, and he's had a taste of playoff experience in New York and Tampa. I feel as if at the age of 31 now, he's reminded that you need some of that gas. You need some of that gas. Like, the Canucks only got to the second round of the playoffs, but in Game 6 and Game 7, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. And and you look at a guy like Matthew Tkachuk last year. This guy saved some gas. For sure he did. Now guys like McDavid and Draisaitl, they're on another planet. They kind of don't need to do that. They just got that full throttle all the time. But again, JT Miller at 31 years old already eclipsed 100 points. I don't know how much admiration he has to, get more individual accolades. Like, he seems like such a team guy that, again, I could see him save the gas for the playoffs.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think it's about chasing individual accolades. I think it's about being the best player you can be to help the team win. And when you do that, you might pick up individual accolades along the way, right?
How about this? How about making Team USA?
Oh, he's making Team USA for sure. I said it, like, over the past 5 years, he's top 15 in NHL scoring. I mean, there's no way he's not making Team USA as long as he's healthy. Brock Besser's may be a different story.
I'm curious because I think that, like, when, look at the thumbnail for today's episode, look at the Canucks being a polarizing fan base. People think we're delusional, all this jazz. People just got a taste of, like, JT Miller last season. Like, I know you're saying that he's a top 15 scorer for the last 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Like, people didn't really know the extent of JT Miller's skill set until last year because the Canucks were cool again, for real. And I'm just interested to see, like, if he makes Team USA, I know he deserves it. Like, does he make it as, like, the fourth line center? Like, what's his role going to be? You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't have that, like, pedigree yet. I don't know. So I feel as if you look at JT Miller's face, and if you don't watch, like, all the Canuck games, you kind of just, you don't see, like, the offense. You don't see, like, the swagger. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not, he's not, like, the sexiest player in the league.
I don't know about that. He might be one of the sexiest players in the league.
Fair enough.
Just behind Brock Besser.
I think he is. I think he is.
Yeah, JT Miller, one of the GOATs, and he's going to be a reason your Canucks are one of the best teams in the league next season. I got one more ad break here. On the other side, let's get to some comments and a question for both Aiden and Kyle here. We talked about some Canucks under pressure, right? JT Miller's going to have pressure on him. Pedersen's going to have pressure on him. I want each of you to, on the other side, to tell me one other Canuck who you think's under a lot of pressure entering the season. Let's get to that and some comments on the other side after we shout out our friends over at GameTime. You know the deal, okay? If you're buying tickets for NHL, NFL, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever it is, there's no other place you should be buying tickets aside from GameTime, because they got that lowest price guarantee. So if you find tickets on another app for less, GameTime, they will credit you with 110% of the difference. And now they're stepping up their game even further. They have a new feature called GameTime Picks that makes getting tickets easier for your favorite live events. GameTime Picks, they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And again, maybe if if your girl or your significant other's not into the NHL, you can find tickets for anything on there, baby. Okay. You could even go fly to Green Bay and see Kyle's Packers, though I'm not sure why you want to do that, but you could do it on GameTime. So make sure that you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Go download that GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? Game time.
Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Somehow I made it on time, sort of, even though I was driving through the Surrey to Richmond to Vancouver traffic. Unbelievable. Bro, I was so frustrated at one point because this is the second day in a row it's hit me like this at random times. I almost poured water all over my GPS system. No, straight up, man. Straight up. And this is a reminder to all the people listening to this. The robots are about to take over. It's 2024. Not only do you have to start thinking for yourself in order to beat them, you got to remember that all you need to do is pour water over the robots and we'll be fine, okay? Anyway, so let's talk more Canucks, and let's also put this on the table. Before today's episode ends, we need either a young Static or a young Begsy to drop a couple bars, because let's dedicate this episode to Mac Miller, okay? And you two look like Mac Miller, okay? It's just the truth. It's just the truth. We're talking about JT Miller today too. Unreal. I wonder if JT Miller listens to any Mac Miller. And this whole Miller conversation, again, it's inspiring me because he's 31 years old. Me and Trevor suffering from erectile dysfunction. We just got to 31 and a half years old. We're still seeing this guy do his thing, and it's motivating. I'm not going to lie. And I want to know, and I don't know if you've already talked about this, Trevor Beggs, because I didn't listen to the live show. I was jealous, okay? I was jealous. Yeah. Who are these guys going to play with? Who's Besser and Miller going to play with? And I wonder if that leads us to believe that, again, Miller can put up some extremely potent offensive numbers once again. Like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Danton Heinen, or is it going to be Jake DeBrusk, or is it going to be Daniel Sprong? Like, who's it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll tell you what I want to see happen, what I think is going to happen. I still want to see a Joshua Garland Miller line. I think that Joshua and Garland have earned the opportunity to play higher up the lineup based on the performance last season, especially Garland, man. This guy, he's a luxury on the third line, but now you got other guys like the Heinen, the Sherwoods, even a Höglander who could be solid third line guys as well. I want to see Joshua and Garland with Miller, put Besser on the top line with Pettersson. What I think is going to happen is that Miller and Besser are going to stick together. And I think they're going to play with Danton Heinen off the bat. That's going to be my guess. Just Danton Heinen's got that history of playing higher up the lineup with more talented guys. So that's kind of my take on it. But Aiden, what do you think, buddy?
Obviously, he's going to be playing with Brock the Rock. But on the other side, hopefully, I think we can get some good Suter play going on. But eventually, I do want to see him play with Sprong, because I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah, and interesting that you say Daniel Sprong, because, I asked that question heading into the break, which Canuck is going to be facing a lot of pressure next season, aside from Miller and Pettersson, and Nuck fan 77 in the comments saying Sprong has some pressure to make or break season for him to prove he can still compete with the big dogs, get a hefty raise on that next contract. So, Aiden, do you think if Daniel Sprong gets the shot with Miller and Besser that he can make the most of it and go earn some big boy bucks?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Bro's fast as hell, He's got that spring in his step.
There you go, man.
It's easier to be fast when you're lacking the hair. And Kyle, that's just letting you know, buddy.
Dude, look at the hairline. The hairline is receding. The voice. Come on, I'm getting voice reconstruction surgery soon. I chose that over the hair transplant. I'm doing it for the people, okay? I'm not doing it for my girlfriend. I'm doing it for the people first, okay? It is what it is. I'm loyal to the Canucks fans. Speaking about loyalty, Thatcher Demko been a Canuck for a long time. Look at this comment from Robin, and I kind of agree with him, okay? I think Thatcher Demko has the most pressure on him. I'm going to put two more names into this hat as well. I think Brock Besser has some pressure on him. UFA season, for real. He's coming off a career year. It's a big deal. Again, like for most of these guys at this age and with that skill set, this is like that last big chance to get a big deal, right? For real. It is. And then there's that other guy. And this may surprise both of you, but it's Quinn Hughes. It's Quinn Hughes, because you look at what he did in the playoffs last year, and he was really good defensively. Straight up. Once he got his feet set and all the hits from Nashville kind of, I don't know, he got used to it. He got used to the speed of the game. I feel as if defensively he was able to do his thing. He was so fun to watch defensively, so efficient, so clean. I'm pretty sure he ranked amongst some of the best defenders in the league, playing defense before he got knocked out. But offensively speaking, there's so much more to him. And the Canucks, for them to go far in the playoffs and for them to have more success that they had last year, Quinn Hughes has to be dynamic when the games matter.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to say that the Stars have pressure. Like, obviously, the best players on the team are going to have the most pressure. But Aiden, let's throw it to you, buddy. And we've Kyle checked out a couple names. Which Canuck do you think should be under the most pressure kind of entering next season?
Well, I agree with that one comment that Demko's going to have a whole bunch of pressure under him. But we can't forget about Shilovs, because if you look at earlier on in the year, he wasn't the best goalie, but all of a sudden he hits playoffs and he's a star. So maybe it was adrenaline. Maybe he's really a star. But I think he's going to have a whole bunch of pressure under his belt.
No, dude. Right?
Man, oh man, I couldn't agree more. I was writing about this morning. Canucks, I think, are under the most pressure. And yeah, again, the Stars are under pressure, but Shilovs, man, oh man. This guy who has 19 NHL games to his name is A, if Demko's healthy, going to have to still play 30 games, and B, might have to play more if Demko's not 100%. And I mean, this is asking a lot for a guy who sure had a bit of a, quasi miracle run in the playoffs. Like, he played better than anyone thought. But there is going to be a ton of pressure on Shilovs next season to be not just capable NHL goaltender, but a difference maker for this team if they are going to have those Stanley Cup aspirations. So, Aiden, I think you hit the nail on the head. Shilovs, for me, is probably one of the Canucks under the most pressure next season. And I think he can handle it, dude. He's married at 18, fucking, I think 23, whoops, my bad. 23 going on 43. I think Shilovs can handle it, but there's a lot of pressure under Shilovs for sure.
Dude, Aiden, you should get married soon too. Take it from a couple 31-and-a-half-year-olds, okay?
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so I'm going to read a couple more comments. That way I'm going to give some more time for Trevor Beggs to think of some rhymes, because I'm not going to put Aiden on the spot. He's a young buck, okay? So Trevor, you're going to have to think about some rhymes before we end out the episode, okay? I'll read a couple more comments. One left to Aiden for hopping on, Young Static, doing his thing, rapping, Canucks podcasting, doing his thing, joining the Discord, boom, bam, link in the bio. So you can join that community as well. Look at this comment from Aaron Gray, okay? Players should never go less than 100%. Again, earlier today, we talked about Miller possibly doing that to save some gas for the playoffs, but it's up to the coaches, yes, to give appropriate rest days / give players that asset management. Aaron Gray, again, one of the best ball hockey GMs of all time. Also, pretty much a ball hockey coach too. You got to do both jobs when you're a recreational team leader. And Trevor, last time I checked, I think it was like game 1 of the finals of ball hockey. Didn't you get benched because he was trying to say, didn't you get benched? And he was trying to save some gas for you to play in game 2 because you're like an old guy and a father.
Yeah, I thought it was load management, but I think it's the coach telling me I need to step up my game for sure.
Yeah, there you go. See, it happens, man. It happens. Look at this comment from Callum Sandu. JT is cut from the same mold as Sidney Crosby, a consummate professional. You talk about projections, trajectory. We tend to always bring up Joel Pavelski and getting that type of output from JT Miller later in his career. Dude, let's shoot for the stars like Callum Sandu. You know what I'm saying? Maybe JT Miller can be a 90-point guy the rest of the way on this contract. Last comment, okay, goes to Anthemous, one of my favorite members of the Discord. He designed a cool shirt. We're coming out with that in October. Anthemous saying, who would be the captain, or asking who would be the captain for Team USA. I wonder if there's a chance, man. Again, Rick Tocchet, I know he's not the Team USA coach and whatnot, but that leadership that he oozes onto this Canucks lineup. The Canucks have a great start from October to January. I wonder if in February Team USA gives an A or a C to JT Miller. Just saying.
I'd love to see it happen. Aiden, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
There you go, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to go to the best player in Matthews, but I think JT Miller would be probably a better captain.
Or Hughes.
JT Miller's never caught showing his rear end in public to someone at 2 a.m. So,
but young people make mistakes. Okay. Anyway, speaking of making mistakes, let's hear your rhymes before we get out of here, man.
All right, you gonna give me a beatbox, or should I just go for it?
I got you.
Okay. All right, Aiden, come on. Okay. He's JT Miller, a stone cold killer. He sees the net and he's gonna fill her. Fans in the stands know he got a thriller. JT making me pee my pants because he's so damn good. Let's go.
Okay. You're supposed to do Mac Miller some justice, okay?
Not bad, buddy.
Anyways, Locked On Canucks, hit the like button, subscribe. One up to Aiden. Do you want to say anything before you get out of here?
Hey, hit the link in the bio, join the Discord, and thank you boys for having me.
Wow, what a great dude. Okay, Trevor Beck, sign us out.
All right. Shout out to Aiden, aka Young Static, for the beatbox and for hopping on here to Locked On Canucks. And shout out to you and you, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener, a first-time listener, a new subscriber, or you join us on the live show on YouTube. Whenever you're listening, wherever you're listening, we appreciate you for tuning into Locked On Canucks. Again, it's your team every damn day. We're supposed to be part-time, but we're addicted to this thing called your Vancouver Canucks. So we'll be back on Monday. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen. That guy is Young Static, a.k.a. Aiden. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.